been talking about the Philadelphia Phillies all week, it seems. But what an awesome performance by Toronto last night, Tim.
Well, I think one of the developments last night, as far as the Toronto Blue Jays were concerned, is that Cito Gaston here in Toronto is not going to have to worry about making any moves with his lineup. He didn't do it in the ALCS. He didn't use a pinch hitter or a pinch runner. He stayed with the same 9 guys. And I think that's what the problem is going to be when he moves to Philadelphia and then has to make a change in Molitor, or does he leave Ed Sprague out there? I mean, they're behind Dave Stewart tonight, one of the most experienced postseason pitchers that has ever pitched.
Earlier tonight, Tim, down at the batting cage, I had an opportunity to ask John Kruk of the Phillies how he plans to get his team back into this thing.
Oh, you know, we're used to getting blown out, and you know, last night was we didn't get a typically pitched game from Kurt, and you know, you got to give them guys credit. They got a good offense. So yeah, I mean, there's no problem with us. You know, we've gotten killed before. We'll get killed again. But the thing is about us, we bounce back pretty good.
Telling it like it is. When we come back, Baseball 93 will take you where the wild things are.
CBS Sports presents
Happy-go-lucky Philadelphia Phillies. You're right inside the dugout there live. You know, when you think about relief pitchers, you typically think about somebody who has impeccable control and can come in to pitch his team out of a jam. Well, Mitch Williams is of the Phillies, of course. To put it mildly, not your typical reliever. In fact, when it comes to getting into the game, the jam is just getting started. This is a story where life imitates art.
In '89, when the movie Major League was released, they hung that nickname on me, and I've had fun with it. I mean, I'm not going to lie to anyone and say, well, it hasn't been fun. It has been fun.
Yeah. And everything has been fun in Philly this year for the spontaneous southpaw who began his career in Texas before striking it big in the Windy City. You make my heart sing. Then Wild Mitch ran into a mild hitch. But everything wasn't groovy, and the GM said, "Wild thing, I think I'll move you." Next stop, Philly, where he's been predictably unpredictable ever since.
Funded it off the plate. Williams barehands and drops it. No play.
Does Mitch Williams just drive you out of your mind?
No, not at all.
Come on.
I've been managing here 3 years, and the one thing, the way I look at it, when we get to that situation in the game, he's the best guy we have for that job.
Practicing your hitting?
Yeah, I might have to pinch hit in this series.
How are you as a hitter? Good?
Well, I batted 1,000 this year with 1 game-winning RBI, something small, nothing big.
But a man-child can still dream about where the wild things are and where relief specialists hit game-winning Grand Slam home runs in the World Series. Walking on the wild side with Mitch Williams, it's hard to tell what's real and what is fantasy.
Take a walk on the wild side.
In any case, there's always a lot to be left to the imagination. His, the fans, even the media's.
It gives a fan something else to call you other than bum, and I've been called both, and I kind of like Wild Thing better.
About the curveball, Ricky. Give him a heater.
Wild thing, I think I love you.
And there must be something about Philadelphia pitchers. Here's tonight's starter, Terry Mulholland, doing a little gardening there on what is tonight, Mulholland Drive. Coming up, Sean McDonough and Tim McCarver, my friendly neighbors in the broadcast booth next door, will join you with the starting lineups when our CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the 1993 World Series continues after this message and a word from your very own local station.
The Blue Jays and Phillies are wearing expressions you'd expect to see in October. In game one, Roberto Alomar expressed himself with his defense. And then the Blue Jay bats exploded. He hits that one down the right field line and deep, hook it toward the pole. Home run! The 2-2 pitch. Well hit down the left field line. Fair ball. It was time for Alomar to make a statement with his bat. Ripped down the line. Fair ball to score 2. The faces told the story of game one, and tonight we'll find out who'll be smiling when the curtain falls on game two. And the curtain is about to go up on game two of the World Series as the Toronto Blue Jays play host to the Philadelphia Phillies at Skydome in Toronto. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Sean McDonough along with Tim McCarver, and it's great to have you with us for game two. The Blue Jays lead this best-of-7 series 1-0. They beat Curt Schilling and the Phillies last night 8-5, but now Jim Fregosi turns to 2 left-handed starters in a row in the next 2 ball games, and that could be a key to the series.
I don't think could be. I think will be. As a matter of fact, with Terry Mulholland starting tonight, the left-hander, because the Toronto Blue Jays are 22-25 during the regular season this year against left-handed starters. And that's the worst record against left-handed starters for a World Series team in 55 years. Now, who are they facing? What left-hander? Well, he shuts down the hitting game. He also shuts down the running game. Only 1 stolen base against Mulholland this year and only 2 in all of last year. But what about Dave Stewart's momentum? In his first 22 starts this year, he was 8-8, but he won his last 4 regular season games and was 2-0 in the league championship series, and of course the MVP. And he is a ruthless competitor. I mean, he loves to win, and you'll be seeing his eyes all night, as we will.
Terry Mulholland for Philadelphia, Dave Stewart for Toronto in game 2 of the World Series. The first pitch from Skydome right after this.
CBS Sports coverage of Game 2 of the 1993 World Series is brought to you by Cadillac and your Cadillac dealer, creating a higher standard. Citibank Visa, now with your photo and signature on the front for greater security. Gillette Sensor in the new Gillette Series, Gillette, the best a man can get. And by Cellular One, clear across America.
The view from the roof of Skydome. The roof closed again tonight. It has been a very rainy weekend here in Toronto, and this is one of those weekends during which you appreciate having a dome at your disposal. The Toronto Blue Jays take the field before another sellout crowd of better than 52,000. And here's a look at the lineup. The Phillies will send it Dave Stewart tonight. Jim Fregosi has Lenny Dykstra leading off in center field. Batting second, the second baseman Mariano Duncan. John Kruk is the first baseman, hitting third. The cleanup hitter is the third baseman Dave Hollins. Darren Daulton batting fifth and doing the catching. Batting sixth, the right fielder Jim Eisenreich. Pete Incaviglia is in the starting lineup tonight. In left field, hitting seventh. The DH is again Ricky Jordan, hitting eighth. And the shortstop Kevin Stocker bats ninth.
The defense for the for the Toronto Blue Jays, I'll be all right. I was thinking of Ricky Henderson. His form is passed with Oakland, and he'll be in left field. Devon White in center field, and Joe Carter in right. Ed Sprague will be the third baseman. Tony Fernandez at shortstop. And you saw what kind of territory Roberto Alomar could cover last night. John Olerud at first base, Pat Borders behind the plate, and Dave Stewart on the mound.
And let's check in with Jim Gray.
All right, Sean, I spoke with Dave Stewart, and he told me that he feels that the Phillies are too selective and that they take too many pitches. He feels that that can really work to his advantage to get ahead in the count. So look for a lot of first strike pitches. Sean?
Of course, last night the Phillies strategy was to go up there and take pitches against Juan Guzman, who frequently struggles with his control. And even though the Phillies lost the game, that was an effective strategy as they forced him to throw 120 pitches over 5 innings.
A different strategy tonight because Dave Stewart with good control, and once he gets ahead, he tries to make you hit his pitch out of the strike zone.
Paul Runge of the National League will call the balls and strikes. He's in his 20th year as a Major League umpire. It's his 4th World Series. Mark Johnson at first, Charlie Williams at second, Tim McClelland at third, Dana DeMuth along the left field line, and Dave Phillips in right. Dave Stewart is ready, and Lenny Dykstra steps in to lead off. He was 1 for 4 last night. He walked leading off the first inning, did not swing during his first at bat against Guzman last night, the first pitch of game 2, outside to Dykstra. Lenny's one hit was a single in the 6th inning. Off relief pitcher Al Leiter, who was the winner last night. Another ball outside, so the Phillies do indeed go up there taking the first 2 pitches, and Dykstra's ahead of Stewart 2-0. Ball 3. The big reason why the Phillies scored 877 runs to lead the National League, their patience. Dykstra, Dalton, and Kruk were 1, 3, and 4 during the regular season in walks of the National League. Barry Bonds, with 126 bases on balls, was second.
There's an added factor. Not only are they on bases on balls, but they are hitting with a lot of 2-0 and 3-1 counts.
Strike on the outside corner. Dykstra has taken 5 pitches and has gone to a full count.
Taking 3-1 because for the most part he's going to get the same pitch 3-2 that he got 3-1, and that's a fastball.
And Dykstra pulled it foul, well back into the stands and right into the luxury box level. During the regular season, Dykstra had 773 plate appearances, a major league record, besting by 2 the mark set by Pete Rose in 1974. Another 3-2 pitch, routine fly ball to left. Ricky Henderson with the style points for the first out of the ball game. And that brings up Mariano Duncan, who was again in the starting lineup against a right-handed pitcher. Why not after his performance last night? He went 3 for 5, stole a base and scored 2 runs. And Jim Fregosi told us before the game tonight that Mariano's rib cage injury is feeling much better these days. Breaking ball starts Duncan. 0-1.
Duncan had his best year against right-handed pitchers, batting .289 this year. That was the splitter from Stewart. And when he gets ahead, right-handers and left-handers will see a lot of those.
One and 2 on Duncan, and the look at Dave Stewart that you saw a moment ago is certainly a familiar look. The cap pulled down over his eyes, the death stare they call it, as he glares into the opposing hitter. The 1-2 to Duncan, fastball fouled back to the screen.
Talk about a guy who zeroes in on his target. Rarely does he take his eyes off Pat Border's mitt. A lot of you fans are familiar with Fernando Valenzuela, how he rolls his eyes up to the sky. Well, not Dave Stewart.
Another 1-2 to Duncan. Fouled out of play to the right.
Right into your living room.
On the ground in the hole. Fernandez from deep short. No chance. And Mariano Duncan is the first base runner of the ball game. An infield hit with 1 out in the first. His 4th hit in the series.
Mariano is fisted with the split finger, and he hits one to his homie. Both Fernandez and Duncan from San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican Republic. An infield hit for Duncan.
He's at first with 1 out for John Kruk. Like Duncan, had 3 hits last night. Kruk went 3 for 4, all of his hit singles. And a balk is called.
Looked like he got his right spike, or the spikes on his right shoe caught in the pitching rubber. You see a lot of balks. Well, there's no doubt about this one. He is on the rubber. And for some reason, it appears that he got the spikes of the right shoe caught on the rubber. Sometimes that happens, but it is a rarity. But boy, that was a major league balk right there.
Now runner in scoring position. And the first pitch to Kruk, the ball low. Check swing. Fielded by Stewart. He'll win the race to the base, and on the play Duncan moves to third with 2 outs. Dave Stewart has had phenomenal success in the postseason. One of his many impressive marks in the playoffs and World Series. The opponent's 137 batting average against him with runners in scoring position. That is best of all time. The Phillies' Danny Jackson, who will start Game 3 at the Vet Tuesday night, is number 2 on that list. Dave Hollins, the batter. He walked his first time up last night, then went 0 for 4. And he looked at ball 1 low. Out of play and left. 1-1 on Hollins. And the Phillies have advanced to this point in the postseason, still with very little production from their cleanup hitter Hollins. Check swing and a ball in the dirt.
Everybody talking about the performance of the Phillies in the NLCS, and certainly they won it, but they were out hit and they made more errors than the Atlanta Braves, while also being outscored in the 6-game series. First time since 1924 when the Senators, in all 3 of those categories, won a series in postseason.
2-2 the count now on Hollins.
That was a splitter right there. Hollins looked like a fastball, and Dave waves through it.
Two outs and a runner at third. And the 2-2. Fouled back to the screen. That pitch registered at 92 miles per hour on our gun downstairs. If you look at Jim Fregosi, after 27 years as a major league player and manager, he has finally advanced to the World Series for the first time in his career. Ball 3. Full count now on Hollins. Should he reach, Darren Daulton would hit next. No score in the top of the first. The payoff. He struck him out with the fastball. And the Phillies leave a runner at third after a half inning at Skydome. Philadelphia 0 and Toronto coming up. Gaston has Ricky Henderson leading off again tonight in left field. Devon White is batting second in center field. Paul Mahler to the DH bats third. He hit 6th last night. Joe Carter is the cleanup hitter in right field. John Olerud, the first baseman, bats fifth. Roberto Alomar batting sixth tonight at second base. Tony Fernandez is the shortstop hitting seventh. The third baseman, Ed Sprague, bats eighth. And the catcher, Pat Borders, hits ninth.
The defense for the Phillies, Pete Incaviglia back in there in left field, even though a right-hander is starting against the Phillies. Len Dykstra, of course, in center. Jim Eisenreich, the left-handed hitter, is in right field. Dave Hollins with a strong arm at third base. Kevin Stocker once again at shortstop. Mariano Duncan at second. John Kruk at first base. Darren Daulton behind the plate. And Terry Mulholland on the mound. 12-9 on the season, and he has pitched only 5 innings in the last 5 weeks of the season. He worked 5+ innings against the Braves 8 days ago, and he lost when the Braves had a 5-run 6th inning against Terry and the Phillies. Terry bringing a 2-0 lead into the bottom of the 6th.
Pitched very well for the first 5 in shutting out the Braves, and then it came apart quickly for him in the 6th. No scores. The Blue Jays bat for the first time tonight. Ricky Henderson leads off. Coming off a 1-for-3 game 1. His one hit last night was a single. It knocked the starter Curt Schilling out of the ball game. While Holland's first pitch skipped by Darren Daulton.
A right-handed hitter in particular has a very difficult time picking the ball up off Terry Mulholland because the glove and the arm come together. A lot of hitters say that he throws out of his uniform, and often they are late picking the ball up. That's to Mulholland's advantage.
This is Terry's first World Series appearance ever, and he has fallen behind Henderson 2-0.
He's looked down at the mound twice, and now he's doing a little gardening out there.
That's his second stint as a gardener tonight. We saw him during the pregame show with Pat O'Brien taking the rake to the mound in the bullpen. The 2-0 was not close. 3-0 on Henderson. Mulholland has thrown his first strike. Similar start to that of Stewart as he fell behind Dykstra, the first batter of the night. 3-0. And then came back to retire Lenny on a fly ball. That's ball 4 outside. Well, an interesting matchup. Mulholland with arguably the best move among all major league pitchers, and Ricky Henderson, Major League Baseball's all-time steals leader at first base. Now Devon White, who continued his torrid postseason with a 2-for-4 game 1, including a mammoth home run in the 5th inning off Curt Schilling into the second deck and right. Saw Henderson, who's judged a lot of moves in his days, heading back to first base as Mulholland delivered to the plate.
Mulholland's best move to first base is when he steps off the mound and throws to first. He is very quick with his left foot. That's not his good one right there. Only 1 stolen base against Terry this year, and that was Darren Lewis way back on April 27th.
There's not been a stolen base this year against the battery of Daulton and Mulholland because Todd Pratt was the catcher for Philadelphia back on April 27th when the Giants' Darren Lewis stole that base against Mulholland. No score in the bottom of the 1st. Ricky Henderson at first with nobody out, and a count of 1-1 on Devon White with Paul Molitor on deck.
That was a step-off move right there, and you could see how quick that left foot was of Terry Mulholland's. The left foot steps off, he gets the arm up in time, and that is a very, very good move. He had 16 pickoffs to lead the major leagues last year.
1-2 now on Devon White. Mulholland had only 3 pickoffs this year, but undoubtedly that's because a number of the base runners in the National League were wise to his abilities.
The word's out.
He also missed some time this year due to injury. Strike 3. White tried to check his swing and could not. And that's the first out of the inning.
Slider down and in. You can see the slider spin, and White goes too far.
Now Paul Molitor, who was the number 6 hitter last night against the right-handed starter Schilling, went 1 for 4. An infield hit and an RBI in the second. Jim Fregosi said that was an important at bat in the ball game and impressive on the part of Molitor, because all of the Phillies scouting reports indicate when Molitor hits the ball on the ground, it is almost always to the left side of the infield. Molitor managed to get the ground ball to the right for the infield hit and the RBI.
When a pitcher is tough to steal against, the other option is the hit and run. Boy, he's quick over there. On the hit and run play, the runner, even if he's as fast as Henderson, has to make sure that Mulholland goes home, and then it's up to Molitor. The responsibility shifts, and he got him.
He did indeed. No, he didn't. Safe the call. We saw the arm flashing through the screen. It looked like Henderson was out, but called safe by Mark Johnson of the American League.
He didn't get Henderson. He got me. Wow. That was very close, but again, that gives you an idea of how quick Mulholland is.
Again, you saw Henderson leaning toward first as Mulholland went to the plate with ball 2, 2-0 on Molitor. No score, bottom of the first. Henderson at first base, 1 out. He is running. The pitch is strike, the throw, a good one, and Henderson is out.
This throw is right on the money, and watch Mariano Duncan where he takes the throw. It's on the bag. Instead of taking it out front and bringing it back, he makes the tag right on the left shoulder, and Henderson's out easily at second base.
Now the 2-1 to Molitor is ball 3. You had a feeling that Ricky would try it because he certainly welcomes the challenge of trying to steal against somebody like Mulholland. And the Blue Jays said prior to the start of the league championship series they weren't going to let the throwing ability of Ron Karkovice prevent them from trying to run. And they did attempt to run against Chicago.
That throw by Dalton was right on the money. He caught 3 Atlanta Braves during the NLCS. Alomar did have a stolen base in last night's game.
And Molitor is aboard with 2 outs on the second walk of the inning issued by Mulholland. Terry's 30 years old. Pennsylvania native from Uniontown, PA. Now makes his home in Scottsdale, Arizona. And here is Joe Carter. Strike 1. Carter has had 100 runs batted in or more in 7 of the last 8 seasons, including this one. Only year in which he failed to reach 100 runs batted in, 88, when he had 98. And even at age 37, Paul Molitor is still a threat to run. Another close play, and safe at first is Molitor.
Not only is Mulholland quick with his left foot, but he's accurate in his throws. He gives the throw to Kruk right down around the ground. And Kruk, of course, being a left-handed thrower, it's much easier. All he does is have to drop the glove on the runner.
Carter in the hole, 0-2. Molitor had 22 stolen bases during the regular season. He was only thrown out 4 times. No score. We're in the bottom of the first. And the 0-2 to Carter is pulled down the line, foul. Joe Carter made an interesting observation about the series coming in. Blue Jays had what ordinarily would be considered a big edge in terms of World Series experience. Many of their players had experienced it. Only 5 Phillies had prior to last night. Joe said these Phillies are so loose, something like a lack of World Series experience really isn't going to affect them.
Yeah, I asked Joe if one of the things that worried the Blue Jays is the fact that the Phillies didn't worry. He said that's exactly right. Joe impressed that in the NLCS, the National League Championship Series, the Phillies never appeared to be down.
One and two, the count on Carter. Molitor with a very short lead. 2-2 now. And perhaps Mulholland is a little bit jittery in his first appearance ever in a World Series game. He's already walked 2. And Terry has averaged fewer than 2 walks per 9 innings in each of the past 3 seasons. He has already exceeded his walk quota. In shallow right, a long run for Eisenreich, and he's there near the line to put it away and end the inning. After 1 in Toronto, no score. The view from Lake Ontario of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, one of the most beautiful cities in all of North America. Certainly one of the cleanest. And a cleanly played first inning for the most part after game 1 that was a little bit on the sloppy side. The Blue Jays managed to win last night's game despite 3 errors. No score as Darren Daulton begins the second. Against Dave Stewart. First pitch of the inning on the outside corner for strike 1. And strike 2. Stewart in his first year with the Blue Jays. He signed a 2-year contract in the offseason as a free agent for a reported $8.5 million. And his career as a Blue Jay got off to a very slow start. As a matter of fact, he opened the regular season on the disabled list. He had a strained right forearm coming out of spring training. Popped up. Fernandez. 1 out. Pat Borders, his battery mate, told us that it wasn't really until about 3/4 of the way into the regular season that Stewart started to pitch like the Dave Stewart of old. You mentioned the numbers down the stretch. He has plenty of momentum coming into the World Series. Jim Eisenreich, the batter. drove in a run with his 9th inning single off Wayne Ward last night. He went up there taking ball 1 low. The 36-year-old Stewart delivers a fastball that missed. 2-0.
So far, Dave, making it look very easy, but his career has not been easy. He signed with the Dodgers, arm problems, and then he signed with the Phillies, released by Philadelphia in 1986. Then he went to Baltimore, struggling around, played some minor league ball, signed with Oakland, and then won 4 20-game seasons. Over 80 wins in a 4-year period from 87 through 90.
And a ball just low, 3-1 on Eisenreich.
Hard to believe he's never won a Cy Young award.
Certainly for that cumulative period, he was the most effective starting pitcher in the American League. Eisenreich draws ball 4. The first walk thrown by Stewart. That brings up Pete Incaviglia, who talked with us a couple of days ago about the Phillies' working class image.
We like being the underdog, and we have a lot of those type of guys around. You know, I think we relate well to the middle class American hard worker, because that's the way we play. You know, we don't have the Armani suits and the clean faces and the, you know, all the jewelry.
Well, actually, as you can tell, he does have the clean face tonight. Since that interview, Incaviglia has removed the beard. He fouled the first pitch away. Certainly a solid average for his career against right-handed pitchers, but didn't start many games against them this year, while platooning in left field with Milt Thompson. But Thompson struggled with the bat late in the regular season. That problem has continued in the postseason, so Incaviglia is in there tonight trying to generate a little more offense. Stewart tied him up. 0-2 the count.
That's where most pitchers try to pitch Incaviglia in tight. He is so muscle bound, very strong, loves to extend his arms, and can hit the ball out in any part of the ballpark. 5 home runs to right, 5 to center, 14 to left this year.
The 0-2 pitch. Well hit to left. Ricky Henderson drifting back. And just in front of the warning track, he made the catch. Eisenreich, and almost all the way to second, and he's back to first with 2 outs.
Well, the breaking ball made Incaviglia spend his power when he stepped. He brought the hands forward and had nothing left with which to hit. Usually if you're fooled on the breaking ball and you keep the bat back, it's all right. But watch how the bat comes forward. The front side collapses, and he still hit the ball about 360 feet to left center.
Ricky Jordan is the hitter. He looked at a breaking ball low and away. Jordan starting as the DH for the second time in as many games last night. He singled off Al Leiter in the 6th inning. His only hit in 5 trips. Eisenreich had 5 stolen bases without being caught during the regular season. 2-0 on Jordan. We mentioned during the National League Championship Series that his brother Flip is a drummer for the recording artist Bobby Brown. And last night, Ricky Jordan and Kim Batiste came out during the practice for the pregame ceremonies about 4 hours before game time, when Aretha Franklin was rehearsing the national anthem, and Jordan and Batiste got Miss Franklin's autograph. They were positively beaming about it afterwards. The 3-0 is a strike.
Bobby Brown, by the way, the husband of Whitney Houston.
Not to be confused with the American League president, Dr. Bobby Brown. Of course, there was a case of mistaken identity with Ricky Jordan during the playoffs. He was asked by a reporter if he missed playing football. And obviously the reporter had mistaken Ricky Jordan with Brian Jordan of the St. Louis Cardinals, who once upon a time was a defensive back for the Atlanta Falcons. Eisenreich running on the 3-2 pitch, and Jordan fouled it off.
Ricky Jordan is unlike most of the Philly hitters. He walked only 8 times this year, over 190 plate appearances. Walked only 70 times in his career with almost 2,000 plate appearances. So he's a free swinger.
And he swings away on the second 3-2 pitch. Ricky Henderson has to play it on a hop. He lost his cap, but not the ball. Eisenreich running with the 3-2 pitch made it to third, and Ricky Jordan has his second hit of the World Series and Philadelphia's second hit of the ball game.
This is one thing you can do on the artificial surface. You can charge the ball and then smother it once it's close to you. You can't take that chance on a natural grass field. That's a ball that had enough hang time where it appeared that Henderson could have caught that ball easily. I don't know whether he saw the ball all the way, but that's a ball that Ricky Henderson usually sucks up.
Had he taken another step or two instead of working hard to put the brakes on, he might have been able to catch that rather routinely. Kevin Stocker is the batter. He tries to bunt and pops it up. Borders can't get it. Sprague was also in pursuit, but Borders, the catcher, had the best shot at it. Interesting play by Stocker, trying to bunt with 2 outs and runners at first and third.
He was trying to get Eisenreich in, and if you're on third with a batter that will bunt, you have to be alert for that play.
No score. We're in the second. The Phillies left a runner at third base in the first inning. They have runners at first and third with 2 outs here in the second. Stocker had 1 hit, 3 at bats last night. Split finger and the count of 0-2. Larry Boa is the third base coach. His name has come up regarding the Houston Astros managerial vacancy. Davey Lopes has been listed as the front runner in most of that speculation. The 0-2 pulled down to first, foul ball. Olerud applied the tag on Stocker, but it was a foul ball, and that's not the first time those two have met. Stocker played college ball at the University of Washington, and Olerud at Washington State. Stocker played 1 year against Olerud and spoke about John as if Olerud were the Babe Ruth of college baseball at the time. He said it was absolutely unbelievable to watch the hitting displays that Olerud would put on in college. Of course, back then Olerud was also a pitcher, but Stocker never faced John when he was on the mound.
Stocker was a freshman at Washington when Olerud was a senior at Washington State.
Kevin said his recollection was that Olerud hit at least 1 home run in every game played between the two.
He was all world as far as Kevin was concerned.
The 1-2 the count. Alomar has to hurry. Out at first. Good play by Alomar and by Olerud. The throw had plenty on it and handcuffed John, but he was able to squeeze it. The Phillies strand 2 in the second.
Get your game cards ready and stay tuned for the Budweiser World Series Classic Play at the end of the 5th inning. You could win $100,000.
That's certainly a good reason to stay tuned. No score after an inning and a half. Terry Mulholland ready to face John Olerud, then Roberto Alomar and Tony Fernandez. First pitch to Olerud, bounced down to first to Kruk. He waves off Mulholland, 1 out.
John Olerud first ball hitting, and these Blue Jays are a first ball hitting outfit. And normally when they get on base, when they are trying to steal, they'll steal on the first pitch. Not tonight, of course, with Mulholland out there and the devastating move of his. They like to swing the bats, see it and hit it.
The hitter is Roberto Alomar. And he looked at strike one. Roberto was the number 3 hitter last night against the right-handed starter Schilling. Went 1 for 4. He had a 2-run double off David West in the 7th inning. This is the way Cito Gaston has played it since Rickey Henderson was acquired. Against left-handed pitchers, ordinarily, Molitor bats 3rd and Alomar 6th, as is the case tonight.
Cito Gaston does not have to manipulate his lineup like Jim Fregosi does. As a matter of fact, Gaston in 7 straight postseason games has not used a pinch hitter. He's not used a pinch runner. The only difference being he shuttles Molitor from the 6 hole to the 3 hole and Alomar to the 6 hole from the 3 hole against left-handed pitching. Other than that, everybody else is straight up.
Swing and a miss for strike 3, and the bat went flying past the 3rd baseman Dave Holland. 2 outs in the 2nd, and that's the 2nd strikeout of the night for Terry Mulholland.
Players refer to this as a little helicopter. He swings through it and it chops down in front of Holland.
Now Tony Fernandez, who was hitless, but had an RBI with a fielder's choice in his first ever World Series game. Again, Mulholland looked down at the mound as he delivered ball 1 to Fernandez. Ball 2-0.
Talked about San Pedro de Macorís. Tony Fernandez and Mariano Duncan are from that small town in the Dominican.
You have to approach it from the east, as that arrow would suggest, or
fly to Santo Domingo and drive.
And there's Duncan. Fastball for a strike, 3-1 on Fernandez. That pitch 91 miles per hour. Mulholland was the starting pitcher for the National League in the All-Star game in Baltimore in July. Foul ball past first, but the effort by the ball boy. You know it's World Series time when the ball boy starts diving for balls in foul territory. Full count now on Fernandez. With 2 outs and the bases empty, we're in the 2nd. There is no score. The Blue Jays still do not have a hit. Eisenreich the catch. 1, 2, 3. Go the Jays in the 2nd. After 2, no score.
CBS Sports coverage of Game 2 of the 1993 World Series is brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. Compaq Computer Corporation. Bayer Aspirin, the wonder drug that works wonders. And by Oldsmobile.
No score after 2 innings. Dave Stewart with a chance to become the all-time leader in postseason victories. With a win tonight, he has 10 in his career, including, of course, the playoffs and the World Series, and that ties him with Whitey Ford. Stewart's all-time postseason record is 10-5. Whitey Ford was 10-8. Lenny Dykstra the batter. He started the ball game with a fly ball to left. First pitch breaking ball for ball 1.
Whitey Ford also with the most postseason starts, 22. Next was Catfish Hunter and then Dave Stewart. This is his 17th time that he has started a postseason game. in all but one of those times, he has gone past the 6th inning. Game 1 of the 1990 series against the Cincinnati Reds, he went only 4 innings, and that was the only game he didn't go at least 6.
3-0 on Dykstra. Then he went ahead and count 3-0 his first time up before Stewart came back to get him on the fly ball to left.
You heard about intimidating pitchers. Dykstra's an intimidating hitter, the way he hangs over the plate. He dares you to throw the ball inside. If you're a pitcher right there and Len Dykstra hanging over the plate, where do you throw the ball? If it's outside, it's right in his wheelhouse. He's quick enough if you throw the ball inside to get around on it. Always seems to have the count in his favor.
This is almost a carbon copy of Dykstra's first at bat. You'll recall what Jim Gray said just before the first pitch of the ball game. Stewart thought he could use the Phillies' patience to his advantage tonight.
Look at Lenny Dykstra and you think, here's a guy who hits the ball on the ground, doesn't have a lot of power. Well, he certainly has power. 19 home runs, 17 of those against right-handers, but an odd category. He led the National League in balls hit in the air for outs with 222. You see that out of a leadoff hitter often.
That's in the air down the right field line. Hooking foul.
Yeah, that's an example of how he gets around on the ball inside. If you crowd the plate, you have to be quick on balls inside, and Dykstra is.
Another 3-2 pitch is ball 4. So this time Dykstra's patience is rewarded. And the Phillies have the lead man on for the first time tonight. That's the second walk issued by Stewart. Now Mariano Duncan, who had an infield single, ball on the left side in the first inning. The Phillies left him at third. Philadelphia has stranded 3 base runners through the first 2 innings. 2 of those men left at third base. Stewart over the plate at the knees with strike 1 to Duncan. Pitch in the dirt and blocked by Porters. No chance for Dykstra to move up.
Mariano Duncan with that bat held very low. John Kruk, who is on deck, with the bat held very high. Doesn't matter where you start your swing, but it's where that bat is in the body and the front side, especially when the ball's about halfway to the plate.
Pulled foul past Larry Boa. One and 2 the count. Nobody out, top of the third. The Phillies have Dykstra at first, and a count of 1 and 2 on Duncan. John Kruk is on deck. They pitch out. Porter's down to first, and Dykstra is back safely.
Since Pat Borders pitched out, he decided, well, I'll throw down there anyway. Throw was not close. knowing the team character of the Phillies, it's got to be strange for this outfit to play in a ballpark where the crowd is so pensive and passive, as the Blue Jays crowd normally is.
That's through Borders, and Dykstra moves into scoring position. Well, there was a lot of talk in the newspapers here today about how loud the crowd was last night, but we've been in a lot of ballparks, and I don't think by many standards it would have been considered a loud crowd, except that this crowd is so notoriously quiet that, relatively speaking, it was loud by Toronto standards. That play scored a wild pitch. Dykstra at second with nobody out. And the payoff pitch to Duncan. Breaking ball. Borders and Stewart can't figure out where it missed. And Stewart has walked 2 to open the inning. And a chance for John Kruk to give the Phillies the lead. He hit a chopper along the first baseline that Stewart fielded, and Stewart beat him to the bag. I'm not an athlete. I'm a baseball player. And in this jam, Stewart had a little extra on the last pitch. 92 on the fastball. That's sinking fast in right center, and it falls for a hit. Dykstra around to score the first run of the ball game. The Phillies lead 1-0 on the 4th hit of the series already for John Kruk.
Fourth hit, 3rd RBI. As Kruk delivers, not only does he score Dykstra, he moves Duncan to 3rd base. So 2 for the price of 1. And the Phillies take the lead. Notice that pine tar on John Kruk's bill of his cap. Bill Lyon, a writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer, said that cap looks like John came out of mine number 5. Wearing it all year.
And it shows. Hollins to shallow center. Fernandez can't get it. And Duncan is in with the 2nd Philadelphia run. So a couple of walks to start the inning, and then a couple of looping singles back-to-back off Stewart. The Phillies lead 2-0, and they have 1st and 2nd. Still nobody out in the 3rd.
Galen Cisco, the pitching coach, is coming out. But you know, big, strong guys are the guys who gets these types of hits, because the outfielders are playing so deep. Guys like Dave Hollins, John Kruk, Darren Daulton are more apt to get the little dunkers because the outfielders can't reach them. Get a hitter with not a lot of power, the outfield is in already, and rarely do they get the humpback liners.
Well, Stewart said the Phillies' patience at the plate would work against them, but that has not been the case in this inning. They got back-to-back walks to start the inning, and both walkers have scored. Darren Daulton popped to short his first time up. And if you're thinking about a bunt, it's highly unlikely. Daulton did not lay down a sacrifice all year. And Jim Fregosi has great disdain for the bunt.
Hollins didn't bunt for a sacrifice all year. John Kruk had no sacrifices all year. Jim Fregosi plays it straight up, and he tells us that no sense in changing right now just because it's the World Series.
Of course, if he does change his philosophy, he'll be second-guessed by many, including his father, Archie, who is perhaps the harshest critic of Jim Fregosi's managing. Archie Fregosi, 80 years old, still involved with organized sport as the third base coach of a softball team in South San Francisco. Jim Fregosi tells the story about his third game as a major league manager with California. Back in the late 70s, a ball game in Oakland, he kept hearing a voice from behind the dugout saying, "Go out and take out the pitcher, get the pitcher out of there." And finally he got annoyed, stepped out of the dugout to look into the crowd and see who it was who was heckling him and say something to him. It was his father. Ball in the dirt. 2-2 now on Dalton. Archie and Jim Fregosi watched a couple of this year's ALCS games together, and Jim Fregosi said, "My dad second-guessed every move the managers made."
Jim said, "I guess you do that when I'm managing." He said, "Of course." The team, by the way, for whom he is the third base coach is Galley's Bakery in South San Francisco.
Jim told us Archie was a little bit upset because Galley's Bakery won a championship playoff game without Archie there while he was in Philadelphia watching the playoffs. Olerud to play at first on Dalton, so that's the same as a sacrifice bunt. As the runners move up, Kruk to third, Hollins to second with one out.
So Dalton pulls the ball, and Olerud's only play is first base. So in effect, Dalton didn't sacrifice, but he did move the runners up with an out.
Blue Jays will play the infield back in the third inning, trailing 2-0 with 2 men in scoring position and one out. And Jim Eisenreich is the batter. He lashed at the first pitch and fouled it out of play to the left.
You might think with the right-hander Incaviglia on deck, why not walk Eisenreich and get to Incaviglia? You're already down by 2 runs, and managers, I think, are properly reluctant to walk more runners on base. If Incaviglia gets a hold of one, the game's out of reach for the most part.
Pulled foul past Mel Roberts in the first base coach's box.
Saw John Kruk running on contact, and that's what the Phillies do a lot of. A ball hit on the ground with the infield back, Kruk will try to score. If he sees that he's caught at home, he'll try to get in a rundown and allow the other runners to move up.
The 0-2 to Eisenreich. Fly ball to right, well hit. Carter sprinting back. It's over his head and over the fence. A 3-run homer for Jim Eisenreich. And the Phillies lead 5-0.
Like a split finger fastball up in the strike zone, and the strategy does not work for Cito Gaston and the Blue Jays. Eisenreich with 7 home runs during the season, and he gets all of this one. Look at the crowd standing up. They were ready for it.
He and Incaviglia looked at ball one. Tim, that brings to mind the point Jim Fregosi was making before the ball game tonight, talking about veteran pitchers who have been in a number of pressure situations before. And when they get in a jam, if they're patient and continue to do the things that they do well, they can get out of the jam with minimal damage. And he talked about Stewart as an example of that, and he said Mulholland struggled in that regard in the game in Atlanta. Once he got in trouble, Mulholland was really racing to get out of the jam as quickly as possible and didn't make good pitches. In that instance, Stewart was ahead in the count 0-2 and gave Eisenreich the ball he could really handle.
You don't normally think of Dave Stewart making a mistake like that, but certainly with the count 0-2, it was that.
This is the first time that Dave Stewart has allowed as many as 5 runs in a postseason game. Incaviglia called out for the second out of the inning. Second strikeout of the night for Stewart. He had 16 prior postseason starts. He had not been touched up for as many as 5 runs in any of them.
Actually, 1/3 of an inning, the Phillies scored 5 runs. Eisenreich responsible for 3 of those runs.
And ball one, a breaking ball, went back to the backstop on the first pitch to Ricky Jordan. Jordan, the 8th batter of the inning. Sprague, nice play to his left. And that ends the inning. We'll return to Sky Dome after this message and a word from your local station. Now look back at Game 2 from last year's World Series. Well hit to left field. To the wall, Deion Sanders. Home run, Ed Sprague. Off the bench with a pinch hit 2-run homer off Jeff Reardon to give the Toronto Blue Jays a 5-4 lead. And the Blue Jays went on to win by a count of 5-4 in his first ever World Series at bat. The first pitch he saw from Reardon, Ed Sprague blasted it over the fence in left. And the Blue Jays will need similar fireworks tonight to get back into the ball game. They're down 5-0 as they bat in the bottom of the third against Terry Mulholland, who worked a 1-2-3 second. Sprague, then Borders, and then the top of the order, Ricky Henderson in the Toronto third. Sliced foul, 1-1. Ed Sprague Jr., his dad, was a major leaguer and is now a scout for the Baltimore Orioles. Well, he must be a pretty good scout. He signed some of the Orioles' best players, including Mike Messina, the pitcher, and Jeffrey Hammond, considered Baltimore's top prospect when he was recalled during the season from the minors. You played against Ed Sprague's dad.
Played against him and with him. Pitcher, right-handed pitcher. We played for Cincinnati, the Cardinals, several other clubs. Jack swing and a ball in the dirt. 3-2. Cito Gaston still has not decided if it'll be Sprague who comes out of the lineup when the scene shifts to Philadelphia and the pitchers have to hit. A pop-up in foul ground between home and third. Dalton has room, and the ball 1 out. And let's drop in at the Sky Dome Hotel, a room out in straightaway center field. They tell us the rooms at the Sky Dome Hotel are going during the World Series for anywhere from $350 to $1,175 a night. You notice they've numbered the windows up there now. They've had a few X-rated episodes over the years in the Sky Dome Hotel. And now if anything like that happens, they know in which room it occurred, and those people are dealt with severely. They do post warnings in those rooms that people in the ballpark can see into the rooms in the Sky Dome Hotel. Pat Borders, the batter, the MVP of last year's World Series, quickly behind in the count, 0-2. Pat says he has little recollection of last year's World Series when he was the MVP. So it all seems like a blur. And there is the possibility, and Pat has raised it himself, that this might be his last World Series with the Blue Jays. They've talked about trimming the payroll in the offseason. They have a top prospect in Carlos Delgado, who is a catcher. Anything, he's ready to play at the major league level. Yeah, they think he's ready to hit at the major league level, but catching at the major league level could be a mistake for the Blue Jays as Borders slices one to right field for the first Blue Jay hit. You can't rush catchers like you can infielders and outfielders, because catchers have so much to do with the success of the pitching staff. Not only do you have to swing the bat, but you've got to be a good defensive player. There are just a lot of things in the development of a catcher much more important, many more things than most players.
With that hit, Borders has now hit safely in 21 of his last 22 postseason games.
That's interesting, isn't it, Sean? John Kruk still holding Borders on with Mulholland on the mound. And Mulholland with a 5-0 lead throwing over to first base.
Borders heading back to first base as Mulholland threw a ball to Henderson.
That's what the runner Borders saw. If you're going back to first, you might as well take a shorter lead and have your momentum going towards second. So the likelihood of picking Borders off in a situation like this almost nil. I think if I were Jim Fregosi, I'd play Kruk behind Borders. The chances of Borders running non-existent with a 5-0 trailing by 5 zip. If Henderson squeaks the ball through on the right side, the Phillies could regret it. Of course, Henderson is a pull hitter. There is a big gap on the right side with Kruk holding the runner on.
In the bottom of the third, the Phillies lead 5-0. Borders at first with 1 out. And a count of 1-1 on Ricky Henderson, who drew a walk his first time up. Ball 2, 2-1. And these World Series games are quite likely Henderson's last in a Toronto uniform. He's a free agent at the end of the year. 2-2 the count on Ricky. I mentioned last night, Pat Gillick, the Blue Jays general manager, has acknowledged that if he had it to do over again, he probably would not have made the trade that brought Henderson to the Blue Jays from Oakland in exchange for a top pitching prospect, Steve Karsay. Just before the trading deadline, the Blue Jays were trying to add a pitcher. They were thwarted in their attempts. They thought they needed to do something to get them over the hump and thought Ricky was the man. Of course, part of that move was they were trying to keep Ricky away from the Yankees and the Orioles, some of the other teams that were in contention in the American League East.
Last year, you may remember, they did go the rent-a-pitcher route when they obtained David Cone from the New York Mets in late August. Cone, a very valuable asset for the rest of the season.
And despite his troubles with Toronto over the second half of the season, Ricky Henderson expects when he goes out in the free agent market that he will be rewarded with the contract that will rank him among the top 10 highest paid players in the game. Strike 3. Henderson caught looking at the tantalizing off-speed pitch for the second out of the inning and third strikeout of the ball game for Mulholland.
After all the fastballs, a changeup that stays inside by Mulholland. Could have taken something off the curveball. Yeah, he did. The downward movement of the curveball, and clearly a strike to Ricky Henderson.
Borders is at first now with 2 outs, and Devon White looked at ball 1 outside.
Tell you, Sean, it's a bad time for a player to go on the free agent market. The television money, the network television money, is going to be sliced at least in half. And certainly more clubs are aware of that, so I'm not too sure Ricky can command those types of bucks in the top 10 players.
Right to center. Dykstra on the move at the warning track. He makes the running catch. Again, Devon White put a charge into one, but Dykstra was able to run it down. And after 3, the Phillies lead 5-0. Nothing Philadelphia as we head to the 4th here at Sky Dome. Sean McDonough along with Tim McCarver. It's great to have you with us. And the Phillies have done tonight what they've done all season long, and that is bounce back from the adversity of losing last night and not playing very well in defeat. We saw them in the League Championship Series bounce back when things didn't go well, and tonight they had to do it against Dave Stewart, but they put 5 quick ones on the board.
A guy who has had all types of postseason success. He's never been beaten in League Championship play. 8-0 there, and 2-3 in World Series play. And I remember of course, we all remember the game in Atlanta. Probably the best performance by Danny Jackson since Games 5 in the ALCS back in 1985 in the World Series, when he beat the Blue Jays and the Cardinals, respectively.
Kevin Stocker takes the first pitch of the inning to left for a hit. It nearly bounded over the head of Henderson. And a wide turnaround first for Stocker. He has a leadoff single.
I think that was the key game for the Phillies in the League Championship Series. That Game 5 won by Danny Jackson with the Phillies down 2-1, or Game 4, I should say. So Kevin Stocker drops one in front of Ricky Henderson, and the Phillies are out for some more here in the 4th inning.
Lenny Dykstra got them started on their way to 5 runs in the 3rd when he drew the leadoff walk and scored the first run. He swung at the first pitch. One out. Stocker still at first. At the conclusion of tonight's game, Tim and I will select the Chevrolet Player of the Game. Chevrolet will donate $1,000 in the player's name to the Special Olympics. Interesting that Dykstra, who went to a full count the first 2 times up without swinging the bat, swung at the first pitch, perhaps thinking that Stewart would be thinking that Dykstra would be taking.
That's right.
Now Duncan looked at a first pitch breaking ball for strike 1. He's been on base twice again tonight. An infield hit in the first. He walked and scored last inning. Duncan a swing and a miss, and he is out at second. Thrown out by Pat Borders for the second out of the inning.
On the hit and run, the runner at first base has to make sure the pitcher pitches. You can see the look by Stocker. Duncan swinging through it. Responsibility shifts to the hitter. He has got to make contact. Stocker was dead.
As is Duncan. And all of a sudden, the inning is over. After 3.5, still 5-0. This season, Dave Stewart said Paul Molitor is the best teammate he's ever had. We asked Paul about that.
The admiration I had for Dave playing against him all the year, particularly when he was in Oakland. And then to have a chance to be his teammate throughout this season and see what he means to a club and have him direct some very complimentary things my way. I told him after we clinched the division in Milwaukee that I had cut that little clip out and put it away, and we'll keep that in a very safe place, because, you know, when you get respect from people that you respect and it comes back to you like that, that means a heck of a lot. You can take that with you a long ways.
First pitch of the 4th inning, a ball low to Molitor. In his first year with Toronto, after 15 seasons with the Milwaukee Brewers, and he became an instant fan favorite. And were he in that election, he might win. There are national elections upcoming here in Canada.
He became as popular as the player he replaced, Dave Winfield. Dave Winfield, who reached 3,000 hits this year.
The 2-0 up the middle, base hit. Duncan was shading the middle, but still couldn't get to it. And Molitor has the second Toronto hit of the night.
When you're way behind, it's easier to hit because the pitch that you get is going to be a more predictable pitch. The pitcher realizes that he can't walk you, so Molitor chooses a 2-0 fastball right down the pipe and rockets one back through the middle.
A lot of pitchers you talk to say it's tough to pitch with a big lead because it's tough to convince yourself to pitch as though the score was close. To throw 2-1 sliders and 1-0 breaking balls and change-ups.
The fans trying to help the Blue Jays climb back into this one. They're down 5-0 as they bat in the 4th inning of Game 2 of the World Series. Blue Jays won Game 1 last night 8-5. First pitch to Carter, ball just inside. He flied to right his first time up. Molitor held on by Kruk. Carter at the plate. John Olerud is on deck. The 1-0 is low. 2 balls and no strikes. You mentioned that Paul Molitor was signed to replace Dave Winfield after Winfield departed as a free agent, went to the Minnesota Twins. That sequence of events really surprised the Blue Jays front office. They knew that they would have a big turnover in their roster because they wanted to trim the payroll and simply couldn't afford to keep many of the members of last year's World Championship team around. They really believed that Winfield was one of the players who was going to stay. They were pleasantly surprised in the other direction when Carter decided to stay. But it was only when Winfield decided to leave and go to the Twins that the Blue Jays pursued Paul Molitor, and they wooed him with a 3-year contract for $13 million.
They've been repaid for their wooing.
That's a lot of woo. Pulled foul. Paul said it was still a very difficult decision to make, even though the Brewers couldn't afford to match that kind of money. When you have the kind of history in a town like Molitor had in Milwaukee, that's a very difficult thing to walk away from. Paul said this trip to the World Series has reinforced the notion that he made the right decision in coming to Toronto. Carter, a high fly to left. Incaviglia at the wall. And he can't get it. A towering 2-run homer for Joe Carter that scraped the backside of the left field fence. And the Blue Jays are right back in it. It's 5-2.
This ball was a wall scraper. Towering fly ball. And watch how close it comes to hitting the top of the fence. About 6 inches.
So 2 runs in, still nobody out for Toronto. And John Olerud looked at ball 1.
Sometimes if you're the runner at first base, you're watching the ball, the hitter's watching the ball, and there is a danger on balls with that much hang time for the guy who hit the ball to pass the runner. That didn't happen there, but it has happened in the past. Happened to me. That's why I said that.
I know it did.
Yeah.
Would you like to share the details, or are they too embarrassing?
No, bases loaded, and I did it. Went from a Grand Slam home run to a Grand Slam single past Gary Maddox in '76.
3-0 the count on Olerud. That was the first extra base hit of this postseason for Joe Carter. He had 8 singles in the games against the White Sox and Phillies prior to tonight. And boy, the price of this card might have just gone up. They have a card machine. And Joe Carter's card cost $1.50 Canadian. About $1.15 in United States currency. What don't they have at Skydome? The 3-0 right down the middle. Olerud was taking all the way.
That's a point about that big lead, though, Sean. Molitor hits a 2-0 pitch. It was a fastball down the middle. Joe Carter, he was ahead in the count. And now Olerud is ahead in the count.
But he cannot capitalize. He's out on the pop-up to Dave Hollins in foul ground. One out. We're in the fourth inning. The Phillies lead 5-2. They've out-hit the Blue Jays 6-3. Each team has one home run tonight. A 3-run homer by Eisenreich, and now a 2-run blast by Carter. And here's Alomar, who struck out swinging in the second. That's well hit to center. Dykstra on the run, still going, and he makes a terrific leaping catch. Lenny was playing relatively shallow and had a long way to go. And another well-hit ball by the Jays here in the fourth off Mulholland.
One of the differences in the two ballparks that these players are playing in is that the outfield fence is very cushioned here at Sky Dome. You said, what else could you have at Sky Dome? Well, cushioning for the outfielders, and a guy like Dykstra who plays as hard as he does, no fear going into that wall. The wall at Veterans Stadium, however, is a little harder.
Two outs and the base is empty. Tony Fernandez, the batter. The one appeal, no swing, says Mark Johnson. 1-0 on Fernandez, who was out in the fly ball to right in the second. He's still looking for his first hit of the World Series. Another line drive in the inning, and another base hit for Toronto.
Hit in the inning, the first by Molitor, the 2-run homer by Carter, and now a liner by Fernandez. I know what you're driving at. It took a good play by Dykstra to catch the ball hit by Alomar, so 4 of the 5 hitters this inning have hit the ball very hard.
And you'll recall that in his start in the league championship series against Atlanta, Mulholland pitched shutout ball for 5 innings and then came apart quickly in the 6th. And both Terry and manager Jim Fregosi said it wasn't a matter of stamina, despite the fact that Mulholland pitched only 5 innings over the last month of the regular season. He had only thrown 63 pitches entering that 6th inning. And Mulholland said it was simply a matter of not locating his pitches as well in that fateful 6th. But Ben Rivera is warming up very quickly in the Philadelphia bullpen. And all of a sudden the tying run is in the on-deck circle for Toronto. Ed Sprague, the batter. And he waits as Fernandez drew a throw. Tony stole 15 bases during the regular season after joining the Jays. Good off-speed pitch to start Sprague with strike 1. Borders hoping to get a chance to hit here in the 4th. The Phillies lead 5-2. Mulholland has that interesting pitch in his delivery, almost as if he's picking up his arm.
That's very unusual. He leads with his glove and the hand follows very closely. We mentioned at the earlier in the telecast that he throws out of his uniform, and that's one of the very difficult things about picking him up. That's what hitters complain about.
And Sprague has nothing to complain about, as strike 3 was right over the middle. But the home run by Carter has the Blue Jays back in it. It's 5-2 Philadelphia.
Major League Baseball.
During a recent appearance on the Late Show with David Letterman, John Kruk talked about his uniform number change.
I had number 28, and we made a trade for Mitch Williams. And I saw where Ricky Henderson gave a guy $25,000 for a number. Well, I got 2 cases of beer.
Yeah.
So Mitch got number 28.
Why did he want 29?
He wanted 28.
He wanted 28, I'm sorry.
Because his wife had a bunch of jewelry with number 28 on it. So.
Oh, that's beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
The big 28 earrings. A lovely touch.
The best part about it is now is he got divorced.
Oh.
Now he wears number 99, and the 2 cases of beer are gone.
Oh, that's too bad.
It's a sad story.
John left out the rest of that transaction. Mitch Williams also threw in a case of ring dings. Kruk leading off the 5th. It's a 5-2 Philadelphia lead. Dave Stewart has fallen behind 2-0. Been a big part of the Phillies offense in the postseason, and tonight Kruk has driven a run and scored one. That came during the 5-run 3rd.
Yeah, he has been a Kruk driver in this series so far, driving in 3 runs.
Of course, if John wanted to, he could go back to the number 28 now, since there isn't a Philly currently wearing that number. Collins and Dalton against Stewart in the 5th.
I think that was John Olerud right there.
Tribute to his American League leading batting average.
Matter of fact, for the season, John Kruk hit .316. That was 8th in the National League, but 5th among National League first basemen.
The 3-2 pitch. Fouled away.
Andres Galarraga led the National League in hitting, the first Venezuelan to ever lead a league in hitting. And then there was Mark Grace, Greg Jeffries, and Jeff Bagwell, all hitting ahead of John Kruk.
Who strikes out. Fourth strikeout of the ball game for Dave Stewart. Tomorrow is a travel day in the World Series. And the World Series resumes Tuesday night at the Vet in Philadelphia. Airtime here on CBS 8 Eastern Time. The first pitch at 8:12. Pat Henkin and Danny Jackson, the Game 3 starters. That's Tuesday at 8 here on CBS. Games 3, 4, and 5 if necessary will be played at the Vet. Dave Hollins, a swing and a miss for strike 1. He singled to drive in a run in the 3rd and scored in that inning. He struck out swinging in the 1st. And a ball up and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Hollins with 1 out. The bases are empty in the 5th, and the Phillies lead 5-2. I mentioned earlier that Dave Stewart was briefly a Philadelphia Philly. He was traded to the Phillies in September of 1985 by Texas from a pitcher named Rick Surhoff, and then was released by Philadelphia early the following season, May 9th of 1986. Said it was simply a lack of opportunity. He got a chance to pitch there. Holland pulls 1 foul. Stewart said while he was with the Phillies, John Felsky was then the manager, they wouldn't let him throw the split finger pitch. Dave said it wasn't as if I couldn't pitch. Shortly thereafter, he was signed by Oakland to a free agent contract, went to the minor leagues for one start with AAA Tacoma, then was called up to Oakland, wound up winning 9 games that year for the Athletics. He went 9-5 during the remainder of 1986. Holland rattled the master Pat Borders with the foul ball, 2-2. Just inside, the count is full. For Stewart wanted to stay in Oakland. That's his hometown. He enjoyed pitching for the Athletics, and he was very involved in the Oakland community in a number of worthwhile charitable endeavors. He says the Athletics were offering a contract at about $1 million a year pay cut what he was making last year. It's a ball in the dirt, and Hollins is aboard with 1 out.
He has taken those charitable activities to the city of Toronto. As a matter of fact, the Blue Jays and the White Sox had an off day before the clincher in Chicago, and Dave Stewart stayed here in the city, served dinners to the homeless. It was the Canadian version of Thanksgiving, and then Dave flew to Chicago and pitched the clincher that night and won the MVP award in the LCS.
A performance for which Canadians everywhere gave thanks. They fed over 600 homeless people that day, thanks to the efforts of Dave Stewart. He says he'll divide his time in this offseason between Toronto and the San Francisco Bay Area. Darren Daulton 0 for 2 tonight. Count even at 1-1. Phillies lead 5-2. They're batting in the 5th, and again they're making the Blue Jays starter throw a lot of pitches. Guzman 120 in 5 innings last night. Stewart has now thrown 102. 1 out into the 5th. Outside, 2 balls and a strike.
See, the Phillies, for the most part, and it's been said over and over and over again, they are a very patient team, and they won't bite at those balls just off the plate.
Now there is action in the Toronto bullpen. Left-hander Tony Castillo is warming up. He's the only left-hander available in the Toronto bullpen tonight. Al Leiter got the win, pitching 2 2/3 innings last night. And Galen Cisco and Cito Gaston still haven't decided who the starter will be for Game 4. They get the out at second. Holland stayed on the bag just to make sure. He was called out. He thought perhaps that Alomar had come off the bag for fielding the throw, but they get the play. 5-4 at second for the second out.
Well, with a guy like Daulton up, a second baseman has to play him to pull. So Alomar had a long way to go and was not really in a position to turn the double play, even though Daulton did not hit him to but 2 double plays all year in 136 situations. Hollins thought perhaps Roberto was off the bag, but he did appear to stay on the bag and leaped out of the way of the sliding Hollins.
Jim Eisenreich, the batter. He owns the biggest hit in this ball game, a 3-run homer, capping the 5-run Philadelphia third. He walked his first time up. Based on the numbers you saw for his career against Stewart, his success tonight is not that much of a surprise. Strike 2, 0-2. It's only the second 3-run homer allowed by Dave Stewart in 1993. The other to George Bell at Chicago on July 19th. Check swing. No swing, says Tim McClellan.
Well, we'll take a look at it. No, he didn't go.
And the pitch was definitely outside. Dalton at first with 2 outs. In the 5th inning, the Phillies lead the Blue Jays 5-2. They've out-hit Toronto 6-4. After a couple of close calls, Eisenreich is called out on strikes. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Dave Stewart, and halfway through the ball game, it's 5-2 Philadelphia. You're looking at 2-time Grammy Award winner Michael Bolton, who sang the United States national anthem before the game tonight. Popular Canadian songstress Rita McNeil performed the Canadian anthem. Halfway through the ball game, it's 5-2 in favor of Philadelphia. Pat Borders is at the plate and in the stands. His wife Kathy and their son Levi. 1-1 the count. Borders, Henderson, and White coming up against Terry Mulholland. Included in that run for Pat Borders is a 16-game hitting streak that ended in the ALCS. Second longest postseason hitting streak of all time, behind the 17-gamer of Hank Bauer.
It's a great name, isn't it? They have a son named Levi Borders. Sounds like he was in the cast of The Unforgiven. Levi Borders.
And there he is. You can say he has excellent genes. And Borders is out. Pat, that is, on the ground ball to short. Levi, one of 2 children born to Kathy and Pat Borders. They have a daughter, Lindsay Ray. And Pat has the names of his children embroidered into his catcher's mitt. One out in the 5th inning. 5-2 Philadelphia. And the batter is Ricky Henderson. Well hit, hooking, foul. Henderson hit it as hard as you can hit a ball, but it hooked foul just short of the pole.
Situation of a guy getting up, looking for the fastball, getting it, and being just a little out in front. Ricky with 21 home runs on the year.
One ball and 1 strike. Old foul just past the bag. We saw last inning an example of the humor of John Kruk from his appearance on the David Letterman show. Well, Terry Mulholland's parents, Terry and Pat, drove round trip from Philadelphia down to Atlanta and back during the National League Championship Series with John Kruk's dad, Mo Kruk. And Mulholland's parents told Terry that Mo is every bit as funny as John is. That certainly helps a round trip of about 1,600 miles in a car. That car was a Cadillac that Terry Mulholland gave to his mother on Mother's Day this year. That dates all the way back to Terry's childhood. They were watching a lottery drawing on TV, which the winner received millions of dollars. And Terry said to his mother, "If I ever come into a lot of money, I'm going to buy you a Cadillac." Well, as a major leaguer, he's come into a lot of money. Two and 2 the count on Henderson. Popped up. Eisenreich in shallow right makes the catch. 2 down.
I thought that old line in baseball was only home run hitters drive Cadillacs.
Home run
Maybe
hitters and
pitchers,
Mrs.
too.
Mulholland.
Yeah, right.
Devon White 0 for 2. He flied to center in his last at bat. He struck out swinging in the first. 1 strike on White. Jack Morris, not a part of the Blue Jays postseason roster this year due to arm trouble, and in all likelihood he will not be a part of their roster next year. If he comes back, the Jays would have to pay him in the neighborhood of $5 million. They can buy him out for $1 million, and in all likelihood that is what they will do. Morris had a disappointing season, went 7-12 with an ERA of over 6. In his late 30s, it's unlikely that a team trying to reduce the payroll would spend that kind of money on a guy whose future is shaky at best. So Jack continues to maintain he thinks he can return to the form that made him a 20-game winner next year.
He missed the ALCS. Matter of fact, he didn't even suit up. He was driving to his ranch in Montana and was telling a newsman in an article about how difficult it was to be driving to his ranch in Montana and listening to his team playing in the American League Championship Series. Jack Morris, the MVP 2 years ago when the Minnesota Twins beat the Atlanta Braves in 7 games. Who can ever forget that 10-inning performance in Game 7.
White has bent his way to a full count. With 2 outs and the bases empty in the 5th. 5-2 Philadelphia. Line drive to left. Incaviglia leaps and can't get it. He made a nice play with the bare hand. His throw to second not in time. Surprised that the wall survived that collision with Pete Incaviglia. He went hard into the left field fence.
Watch it wobble. The ball hits above the glove of Incaviglia. He barehands it nicely, but White with an easy double. That ball was a tracer to left field. We talked, by the way, about Jack Morris and about winning the MVP award 2 years ago. Last year, Dave Winfield with the game-winning hit in the World Series. And could it be Paul Molitor this year? Well, that's that St. Paul connection. All 3 of those players are from St. Paul, Minnesota.
White at second. And here is St. Paul native Paul Molitor. It was walked and singled. And he scored on the Carter home run in the 4th. Carter is on deck again representing the tying run. Molitor and Dave Winfield grew up just a couple of blocks from each other. Obviously Winfield is a couple of years older. Both grew up wanting to play for the Minnesota Twins. Both went on to play college baseball at the University of Minnesota. Molitor wound up taking Winfield's place this year with the Blue Jays. Duncan had him play perfectly. And that ends the inning after 5 in Game 2. 5-2 Philadelphia. Sean McDonough with Tim McCarver, Jim Gray and Pat O'Brien at Sky Dome in Toronto for Game 2 of the World Series.
Come on, Ray!
Apparently that fan in the upper deck didn't have time to read the paper before he came out to the game tonight. Pete Incaviglia checked his swing and looked at strike 1. of play has been really plotting in these first 2 games of the World Series.
I think you find that with the Phillies because they take a lot of pitches and they walk a lot. And when that happens, obviously, more pitches are going to be thrown.
Took 2 hours to play the first 5 innings here tonight. And it was a similarly slow pace last night. Incaviglia gone on 3 pitches. He's 0 for 3 tonight.
Five strikeouts now for Dave Stewart. Make that 6 strikeouts for Stewart as Incaviglia waves at an outside fastball. Really the only bad inning Stu has had tonight. The 3rd when he gave up all 5 runs.
The Phillies have had at least 1 base runner in every inning, but the 3rd was the only inning in which they managed to score. Against Dave Stewart. Who's working to Ricky Jordan. Fouled the first pitch away for strike 1. Jordan singled to left in the 2nd, bounced to 3rd in the 3rd. Alomar from shallow right center. 1 hot throw for the out.
He is just remarkable with that range of his, backing up on the ball and a design throw to first base, a bounced throw that gets a guy who can run fairly well pretty easily. Nice play by Alomar after those 2 spectacular plays last night.
Kevin Stocker, the hitter. And he looked at ball 1 up and away. Stocker singled to left his last time up, then was thrown out trying to steal second. Ball 2, 2-0.
You've heard of playing baseball in your own backyard. For Alomar, it's almost true. He lives here at the Sky Dome Hotel and has since his trade from San Diego.
No reason to live anywhere else, really. Doesn't have to commute. Says if he needs to be here at 10:50 as he did for the workout before game 1. He gets up at 10:30, takes a quick shower, comes down to the elevator, and he's here. Even though they don't have 24-hour room service at Sky Dome Hotel, they know him well enough that if he calls down looking for a late night snack, they'll send him one. He has his own personal phone line, 2 adjoining suites, and the perk of free local telephone calls. For those of you who stay in hotels frequently, you know how quickly those can add up. Full count on Stocker. 2 outs and the base is empty. Top of the 6th. 5-2 Philadelphia. Stewart trying to work his first 1-2-3 inning. He hasn't had a perfect inning yet. Another 3-2 to Stocker, and he fought it off. If the Blue Jays come back to win tonight, they will have accomplished something that they did not do during the regular season. The Blue Jays did not come back from a 5-run deficit to win a game this year. A pop-up. Ed Sprague drifts into foul ground. And a 1-2-3 inning for Stewart. We'll return to Sky Dome after this message and a word from your local station. We're heading to the bottom of the 6th here at Sky Dome. The Phillies lead 5-2. Sean McDonough with Tim McCarver. Dave Stewart has his legs back under him after that rocky inning in which he allowed the 5 runs.
Yeah, I think that he has regained control of the ball game, but it's just a matter of whether too many horses are out of the barn or not. The 3-run home run by Eisenreich, the biggest blow in this ball game.
And you have to wonder how much longer Stewart can go in the ball game. He's thrown 123 pitches. His season high was 124 in a game in September. against Minnesota. Joe Carter has provided the Blue Jays with their only offense tonight off Terry Mulholland with a 2-run homer. That was in the 4th. Towering fly ball that scraped the backside of the left field fence. To right center. Long run. Dykstra is there, and he makes the running catch. Of course, a key play in last night's game was the miscommunication between Dykstra and Milt Thompson, who was then the left fielder. Play that resulted in a 3-base error on Milt Thompson. And it was, they said, a matter of simply not hearing each other.
Ball hit by Devon White to lead off the 3rd inning. And the ball tailing back to Thompson and going away from Dykstra. And the error was given to Milt Thompson. Now, the one thing about that pitch count, Sean, I don't think you can be a slave to a pitch count. I think if Dave Stewart says he's still throwing the ball well, then Cito Gaston will probably allow him to go out in the 7th inning. No one is warming up for the Blue Jays. And I would imagine that Dave will be out there, especially the way he has pitched since that 5-run inning.
1-1 the count on John Olerud.
Common sense will tell you that guys feel differently on different days. Sometimes they're stronger. Sometimes they can go longer in a game than they can on others.
Pulled down to first. Kruk to Mulholland for the out. 2 gone in the Toronto 6th inning.
John Kruk has been nursing a sore lower back throughout the postseason play. He makes a nice play and a nice underhand toss to Mulholland to get Olerud.
Now Roberto Alomar. Alomar and Kruk played together in the San Diego organization. Kruk was the first baseman for 1 year with Alomar by his side at second base. Kruk says he used to play right on the first base line because he knew Roberto would cover the rest of the ground between first and second.
That was a grass field, and now on the artificial surface, I think his range is about 5 feet farther to his left and right.
Good pitch on the outside corner. Alomar in the hole, 1-2. Base hit past the diving Hollins. So again, the Jays have a 2-out base runner. They got a 2-out double last inning from Devon White and left him standing at second.
Alomar kind of one-hands this slider away from him, and he takes that wide turn at first base, giving himself every opportunity to go to second if Incaviglia bobbles the ball.
Alomar's 1 for 3 tonight. Here's Tony Fernandez, 1 for 2. He singled to left his last time up. The hits are even now at 6 apiece. The Phillies lead 5-2 in the 6th. Alomar stole 55 bases during the regular season. And he has never been thrown out while trying to steal in postseason play. That's 15 times without being caught. Most consecutive steals in postseason history.
He is less likely to steal now with the Blue Jays trailing by 3, 2 outs. That's one of the things that has changed in baseball. About 25 years ago, it used to be that nobody would run if you're down by 2 or more runs in the middle to late innings. But that has changed for the better. Why take away one of your best weapons? And certainly Alomar going in that situation, an indication of that. That's also why John Kruk continues to hold him on, and why Roger Mason is up and throwing for the Phillies.
Alomar at first with 2 outs. 6th inning, 5-2 Philadelphia. The 1-1 to Fernandez in the air in left center. In Cavilla, can't get it. Alomar around to score, and it's 5-3. It looked like Incaviglia slowed down, thinking that the ball was going to come to him. And then when he realized that it wasn't hooking toward him, he tried to pick it back up again. But by then it was much too late.
He went after it like he lost the ball. He goes after it hard, and then he slows down, almost to a stop, and then he picks it up again. And by the time he gets to it, it is a double for Tony Fernandez, and the Blue Jays are 1 run closer.
A 2-out single by Alomar, and then an RBI double by Fernandez. It's the first extra base hit in this postseason for Fernandez. And it might be the end of the night for Terry Mulholland. Jim Fregosi is on his way to the mound. He has the right-hander Mason warming up with Sprague due up, and he puts out the call for Roger Mason. The Toronto Blue Jays will have the tying run at the plate when we come back. So as was the case in his start in the LCS, Terry Mulholland is knocked out in the 6th inning here tonight. 5 2/3, 3 runs all earned on 7 hits, 2 walks, both of those in the first inning, and 4 strikeouts. And he leaves a runner at second base, inherited by Roger Mason, who has been outstanding. In 8 career postseason games, he still has not allowed a run. And that includes last night, when he pitched a perfect 8th inning against Toronto. Opponents in the postseason hitting only 108 against Mason. He comes into the ball game with the tying run at the plate. Ed Sprague, the batter. 5-3 Philadelphia in the bottom of the 6th. Sprague, a drive to center, and Dykstra has the play. And Mason gets his job done with 1 pitch. 1 run for Toronto in the 6th.
Sports coverage of Game 2 of the 1993 World Series is brought to you by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. American Airlines, something special in the air. Hewlett-Packard, DeskJet, and LaserJet printers. And by AT&T, we help put your world within reach.
We hope you'll be with us Tuesday night for Game 3 of the World Series as the scene shifts to Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Airtime 8 p.m. Eastern. The first pitch at 8:12. Pat Henkin, who won 19 games during the regular season, will be opposed by Danny Jackson, who was so impressive in his start against the Braves in the National League Championship Series. And after 6 innings from the starter Dave Stewart, Cito Gaston has summoned Tony Castillo,
who was 3-2 in 51 games, and he's back with the Blue Jays. He signed as a non-drafted free agent with Toronto back in 1983, traded by the Blue Jays to Atlanta with Francisco Cabrera in '89 for pitcher Jim Acker, and then traded to the Braves, from the Braves to the Mets in the Alejandro Pena deal, and then granted free agency from the Mets and signed with Toronto last January.
He's on to face the top of the order. Castillo is 30 years old, just 5'10", 190 pounds. He's from Lara, Venezuela. Dykstra, Duncan, and Kruk due up in the 7th. The Phillies lead was 5-0. Now it's 5-3.
Lenny Dykstra can beat you with the bat. Seen that. And he can also beat you with the glove. Catch off the bat of Roberto Alomar in the 4th. Constant motion is Lenny Dykstra.
Both on and off the field. We've spoken of his car accident in 1991 as he and Darren Dalton were returning from John Kruk's bachelor party. Dykstra was driving the car. Both he and Dalton were hurt. And that happened about the same time. Dykstra was being investigated by Major League Baseball for gambling activity. Dykstra into the Philadelphia bullpen. A rude greeting for Tony Castillo, provided by Lenny Dykstra. And it's 6-3 Philadelphia.
And on a 1-2 count, Dykstra gets a fastball right down the pipe. He really smokes this ball. It looked like a curveball from Castillo. Had a little wrinkle in it. Dykstra hit only 2 home runs off left-handed pitchers all year. He really connects here on the hanger. Another way that Lenny Dykstra can hurt the opposition.
Certainly the Blue Jays didn't expect the home run by Dykstra. When Castillo was summoned, Tony allowed only 1 home run all year to a left-handed batter. That was Boston's Mo Vaughn. Only held lefties to a .213 batting average during the regular season. But Dykstra with the home run, the second of the night for the Phillies. And they've pushed the lead back up to 3 runs. Still nobody out in the 7th. 1-1 the count on Duncan. And now 2-1.
Last time she was out.
And there's Mrs. Mariano Duncan, Julia, and their son Mariano. And that's well hit to right. But Carter has a play, 1 out. Duncan himself is from a large family. He's one of 11 children, 7 brothers and 3 sisters. Now John Kruk. 1 for 3 tonight. He singled a drive and run in the 3rd, and he scored on the Eisenreich homer. 1 strike on Kruk. Dave Stewart worked 6 innings. He allowed 5 runs, all earned on 6 hits, including the Eisenreich home run. And there's a base hit for Kruk. He has 5 hits in the first 2 games of the World Series.
That home run, by the way, for Dykstra, his 7th postseason home run. And he has hit 6 from the leadoff spot. That ties a major league record. Hank Bauer and Davey Lopes also had 6 home runs as a leadoff batter. The only time he hit a home run when he wasn't leading off in the 1986 playoffs, when he won a game with a 2-run homer off Dave Smith of Houston. He was a pinch hitter in that game.
Dave Holland swings around to bat from the right side, his stronger side. And after ball 1, the pitching coach, Galen Cisco, trots to the mound. Finished the line on Dave Stewart. He walked 4, struck out 6 through 123 pitches while he was out there. And we'll pick up a rare postseason loss unless the Blue Jays can come back. And perhaps before the ball game is finished, we'll see Mitch Williams. If the situation remains as it is now, he'll certainly be on later on. Kruk at first with 1 out. 6-3 Philadelphia in the 7th. The 1-0 to Hollins. Fouled away to the right. Dave singled a drive and a run back in the 3rd, and he scored on the Eisenreich homer, and he walked in the 5th. Apparently Cito Gaston did factor in the pitch count because Stewart wasn't showing any obvious signs of fatigue. He retired the last 5 men he faced and did not allow a hit over the last 2 innings that he worked. Gene Tennis, the dugout coach, in the foreground.
And I guess Cito's thinking that Stewart started the season on the disabled list.
Little looper, base hit, just over the leaping Fernandez. And Kruk is hobbling as he rounds 2nd. appears to be okay now, but for a moment he took what was an awkward-looking step. Might be that back that's bothering him again.
And there's no way to drag him out of the lineup, says Jim Fregosi. But he is limping. It's either his lower back or his right knee. He has had knee problems, lower back problems all year.
So Castillo has not fooled anybody to this point. He's only recorded 1 out, and that was on the line drive to right by Duncan. Darren Daulton looked at the ball low. There is action in the Toronto bullpen. Mark Eichhorn is warming up. Good pitch. Sweeping breaking ball for strike 1. 1-1 on Daulton, who's 0 for 3 tonight.
Daulton had a good year against left-handed pitchers last year with 11 home runs. And he said one of the reasons was he was hitting the ball the other way more effectively. This year, however, batting only .213 against left-handed. He's probably the most vulnerable left-hander on either team. The Phillies have 3 left-handed batters that play every day, and John Olerud, the only left-handed batter with Toronto that plays every day for the most part.
Two and two. Daulton has only 1 hit in 11 at bats in the postseason against lefties.
This ball out of the strike zone. Daulton normally does not swing at balls. You can see how he brought the bat in, really forcing the bat through the strike zone on that pitch down and in.
Chopped slowly to second. Tough play for Alomar, and he made it look easy. Had to time the leap and get rid of the ball quickly, and he did all of that for the second out of the inning.
Watch Alomar make the leap, make the transfer, and the accurate throw all in the air. That's a remarkable play right there. It looks so easy because he's so smooth and adept doing it.
Big spot of the game right here. 2 more big runners standing in scoring position. Major difference at this juncture between a 3-run lead and a 5-run lead. Eisenreich has already driven in 3 tonight with his 3-run homer in the 3rd. Kruk the runner at 3rd. Hollins at 2nd with 2 outs. 1 run in here in the 7th on the Dykstra homer. Eisenreich to center. White sprinting back, and he makes the running catch. The Phillies have stranded 6 tonight, and at the 7th inning stretch they lead 6-3. The Phillies lead now 6-3, courtesy of the home run in the top of the 7th by Lenny Dykstra. Jim Fregosi calls him a red light player. When the spotlight is on, when the red light of the cameras pointing at him, he delivers, much like a man known as Mr. October. And in fact, Lenny Dykstra has more home runs per at bat in postseason play than Pelé. Sounded like Joe Namath for a minute. Then Reggie Jackson, and the all-time record holder in that area, Babe Ruth. During the 7th inning stretch, they shoot off some fireworks. And even though Sky Dome is a smoke-free facility, that applies only to fans, not the fireworks.
That was just a little play on words.
A little play on words.
You were getting ready for the World Cup next year in '94.
Famous soccer player, Joe Pelé.
Pelé by Pelé.
Yes. Borders looked at a borderline pitch. 2-1 the count.
Borders appeared to be taking all the way against Mason. Not inside.
Down to third. Holland waiting for Kruk to get to the bag, and Borders is out. And for those of you who might just be returning from a Sunday evening out, here's how we got to this point. The Phillies scored 5 runs in the third, capped by a 3-run homer by Jim Eisenreich. The Blue Jays got on the board in the fourth. Joe Carter, a 2-run home run off the starter Terry Mulholland. Tony Fernandez doubled to drive in Roberto Alomar, who had singled in the sixth to make it a 2-run game, but Lenny Dykstra pushed the lead back to 3 with a home run leading off the 7th. 1 out in the bottom of the 7th. Ricky Henderson took ball 1 low and in from Roger Mason. Well, we've heard of cone heads. What would you call that? Henderson looked at a strike. Ricky thought it was low. Guess that would be a J head. Ricky 0 for 2 with a walk back in the first inning. 1 and 2. John Kruk, during his appearance on the David Letterman show, talked about Ricky Henderson's number change. And at the time that he got number 24, which had been worn previously by Turner Ward, there were stories that Ricky paid Turner Ward $25,000 to get the number, but that rumor was put to rest later. Ricky actually bought Turner Ward a pair of cowboy boots to get Ward to switch numbers with Ricky. When he first arrived here in Toronto, he was wearing number 14. It seemed kind of strange to see Ricky without 24.
2 dozen.
Out of play and right. Juan Guzman, who was the starter last night. He probably will not be the starter in game 4 because of those 120 pitches. Cito Gaston said he didn't want to rush Guzman back, given that he was extended over the 5 innings. And it appeared, talking to Cito before the game tonight, that Todd Stottlemyre will be the starter in game 4. In shallow left, in Cavilla, a nice running catch. I think he's still in there in the 7th, but would you expect if the Blue Jays come up in the 8th and the Phillies still have the lead, we might see Milt Thompson out there?
And Cavilla leads off the 8th inning, and I think that's why he's in there for defense here in the 7th.
Devon White, the batter. He doubled in the 5th. Mason missed outside. 1-0 on White.
I think if Cito Gaston does start Todd Stottlemyre in game 4, he'll have Al Leiter backed up right behind him. And the Phillies will have their left-handed hitting lineup probably. Jim Eisenreich, Milt Thompson possibly. And then if Leiter can come in and do the job that he did last night, it would give the Blue Jays a better chance. Jim Fregosi, as we mentioned earlier, with a tougher job of managing because he's got the 3 left-handed hitters that are regulars, and then he's got the platooned left fielder and right fielder. So Al Leiter, I think you're going to see more of Al Leiter in this series after that terrific job he did last night, getting the win with 2 2/3 scoreless baseball.
And Mason has now pitched 2 perfect innings in this World Series, a perfect inning last night. And he's faced 3 men tonight and has retired them all. Full count on White. With 2 outs and the base is empty in the 7th. 6-3 Philadelphia. He struck him out. First strikeout for Mason. It ends the inning. We go to the 8th. 6-3 Phillies.
This game summary is sponsored by AT&T.
The Phillies lead 6-3 as we go to the 8th. Home runs a big part of the story tonight. Jim Eisenreich and Lenny Dykstra have homered for Philadelphia. Joe Carter, a 2-run homer to account for 2 of the 3 Toronto runs. And as we go to the 8th, with the bottom third of the order due up for Philadelphia, there's a new pitcher on the mound for Toronto, and those keeping score in the stands will make note of that as Mark Eichhorn toes the rubber.
In relief of Tony Castillo, and about the same type of job for Eichhorn as Cito Gaston has required out of Castillo. Castillo with 51 games this year, Eichhorn with 54, Castillo 3-2, Eichhorn 3-1.
Pete Incaviglia leads off. Foul ball past third. Incaviglia 0 for 3 tonight. He has struck out his last 2 times up. Ricky Jordan scheduled to follow, and then Kevin Stockton. One on Incaviglia. Mark Eichhorn, 32-year-old right-hander. That's a fair ball, knocked down by Sprague, and Incaviglia has a hit.
Well, if Jim Fregosi is going to take Pete out for defense in late innings, he will probably pinch run for him here with Milt Thompson. This ball hit down the line. Sprague does a nice job knocking it down, but he loses the ball, and Incaviglia has an infield hit.
And Thompson does come in to run for Incaviglia, who has his first hit ever in World Series competition. And the Phillies have 10 hits tonight. Thompson, the pinch runner at first with nobody out. And Ricky Jordan is the hitter. Eichhorn a long time to establish himself as a major leaguer. He started in professional baseball in the minors with the Blue Jays in 1979 and didn't establish himself as a big league pitcher until 1986. He nearly packed it in. When he was in the minors, he threw straight over the top with only marginally good results. And he was on his way out. He's no longer considered a prospect when Larry Haney, then a pitching coach in the Blue Jays organization, knocked him into going to a submarine delivery. That is a foul ball. There was a time when Eichhorn was really a frisbee thrower. He dropped way down.
More than now, right?
It's kind of in between now.
An unusual motion in that after he releases the ball, he jumps at the hitter. There are a lot of pitchers that are not smooth in their delivery that appear to jump at the hitter. Well, Eichhorn actually does it. He is one of 6 players to return to the Blue Jays. Jim Acker did it. Rico Carty did it. Cliff Johnson, Alfredo Griffin, and as we mentioned, Tony Castillo. Tony Fernandez being the 7th should add to that list.
1-2 on Jordan. We're in the 8th inning. The Phillies try to even the World Series at 1 win apiece, lead 6-3, and they have Thompson at first with nobody out. They pitch out, and Thompson was not on the run. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Eichhorn is a native of San Jose, California. Mickey Jordan is from Northern California, from Sacramento. Thompson back to first safely. Thompson was running on the 2-2 pitch, and Jordan fouled it at home plate. Cito Gaston didn't want to be the manager when Pat Gillick, the general manager, asked him to take over for Jimmy Williams. Cito said, well, I'll be the manager for a couple of days until you find somebody else. The Blue Jays had success immediately after Gaston took over, and they convinced him to keep the job.
Too much success as far as Cito's concerned. Cito with that mentor mentality, telling us yesterday that he would rather teach the art of hitting, or at least as much as managing, and someday go back to that. Fine player in his own right with the San Diego Padres. Boy, did he have a gun for an arm. He and Ollie Brown. Cito was in right field, Ollie Brown in left field, downtown Ollie Brown, and both of them could flat throw.
Thompson is not running this time, and Jordan took ball 3 inside. Cito Gaston, the third manager to reach the postseason in 4 of his first 5 years. He took over early in the 1989 season. Jimmy Williams was let go. Thompson running on the 3-2 pitch, and Jordan bounced it foul.
Has to make sure the pitcher pitches. You're not going to steal the base. Again, the hitter must make contact or take it for ball 4.
Bounding ball down to third. Sprague took a look at second. Thompson was running, and Sprague didn't have a play there. He went to first for the first out. A runner at second with 1 out in the 8th. 6-3 Philadelphia. Game 3 Tuesday night. We're on the air at 8 Eastern time. First pitch at 8:12. And the Blue Jays and Joe Carter will face another left-handed starter, and Danny Jackson will go against Pat Henkin. Henkin had an excellent regular season, but struggled a little bit down the stretch and didn't have a particularly good time of it against the White Sox in the ALCS. Kevin Stocker, the batter, he's 1 for 3. He singled to left in the 4th.
Mentioned last night, Kevin Stocker, only 23 years old. He only played 70 games for the Phillies. Only one shortstop with less experience at the major league level to play in postseason play. That was Joe Sewell back in 1920.
Ball 3.
However, there have been younger shortstops to play in postseason play. Travis Jackson was younger with the Giants back in the 20s. Frankie Crosetti in 1932 was not quite 22 years old. Tony Kubek, our pal Tony, about 22 years old. in his first postseason series.
You mentioned that Jim Fregosi said he wasn't concerned about Stocker's youth, relative lack of experience when he was called up at midseason. Jim said, by the time I was his age, I had about 5 years in the majors, and our Steve Hurt researched that Fregosi had played in 370 major league games by the time he was 23. He was a very good player, 6 times an All-Star. Had a long wait, as we noted earlier, to get to the World Series. 18 seasons as a player, and this is his 10th as a manager. Only 2 other individuals in this century have played and or managed for more years without reaching the World Series. Gene Mauch, 35 years, and Joe Torre, 29 years. Neither has ever been in the World Series as a player or a manager. Stocker was taking all the way on 3-0, 3 balls and a strike. Mike Timlin, hard-throwing right-hander, is getting loose in the Toronto pen. Working very slowly, and he missed outside with ball 4. First and second for the Phils. And the top of the order comes around again. Lenny Dykstra homered, leading off last inning against Tony Castillo. He walked and scored in the 3rd, and he will face a new pitcher. It's the 2nd trip of the inning, so a pitching change has to take place, and Mike Timlin will be summoned. With the score, the Phillies 6 and the Blue Jays 3.
Coverage of Game 2 of the 1993 World Series is brought to you by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. The Prudential, plan for retirement. Call Prudential Insurance now. Coors Light, reach for the silver bullet, the right beer now. And by Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Top of the 8th inning, Philadelphia has a 6-3 lead, at runners at first and second with 1 out. Lenny Dykstra at the plate, and the new Toronto pitcher, the 4th Blue Jay hurler of the night, is Mike Timlin. His first pitch swung on and missed by Dykstra for strike 1.
Dwayne Ward used to be the setup pitcher for Tom Hinkie, and that's what Cito Gaston has tried to groom Mike Timlin as, the setup man for Dwayne Ward. Timlin 4-2 in 54 appearances this year. Great natural movement on his fastball.
Base hit right field. Thompson will be stopped at third by Boa. And the bases are loaded for Philadelphia. Lenny Dykstra has his 2nd hit of the night, and he's on base for the 3rd time.
Looked like Timlin got the sinker up. Most high sinkers catchers don't catch. That ball, a BB to right field, so Dykstra now 2 for 4 with 2 consecutive hits, including a home run. Cito Gaston sending Mike Timlin down to Dunedin in August to work with Bill Monboquette, who is the pitching coach down there, and trying to impress upon him, just try to find the middle of the plate. Your natural action on your fastball will take care of the rest. Don't try and be too fine.
And that visit with Monboquette paid dividends. Timlin pitched much better when he came back from a stint in the minors. Duncan, 1 for 3, an infield hit in the 1st inning. He walked and scored in the 3rd. Phillies at one time led by 5 at 5-0. They have a chance to break it open again, leading 6-3 with the bases loaded and 1 out. Duncan chased a bad ball, 0-2. The runner at third is Milt Thompson. He's running for Pete Incaviglia, who started the inning with a single. Evan Stocker is at second. He walked. Moved to second on the single by Lenny Dykstra, who stands at first. The 0-2 from Timlin. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 2 grand slams for Mariano Duncan during the regular season. The Phillies hit 8 as a team.
One of those grand slams in the clincher versus Pittsburgh.
Called his mother after that game, told her about the grand slam that clinched the division. She cried in the phone. And his father got on the phone and said, "You should be more patient at the plate." Kind of a typical dad, isn't he? One and 2 the count. He swung at another bad pitch for strike 3. Big second out of the inning on the strikeout by Timlin.
Remember, the 1-2 pitch was a ball up and in, and this slider out of the strike zone, and Duncan goes for it, but Timlin certainly not out of the woods yet with John Kruk, the batter, and the Blue Jays do not have another left-handed pitcher to bring in to face him. Not with Al Leiter going 2 2/3 yesterday, and Tony Castillo pitching earlier in this game.
Another big point in the ball game. Bases loaded and 2 outs. 6-3 Philadelphia in the 8th. Kruk 2 for 4 tonight with 2 singles and an RBI. He has scored a run. They shade him slightly toward left in the outfield, as you saw. Ball 2, 2-0.
There should be a yellow light in a catcher's catching mitt in situations like this. 2-0 to a selective hitter with power. This is has caution sign written all over it. But he nipped the corner with it.
Borderline pitch, called a strike, 2-1.
Looked like it had the front part of the plate to Kruk. But a nasty pitch to John Kruk with a count 2 balls and no strikes.
Two balls and 2 strikes. Bases loaded and 2 outs. Mike Timlin, who was on the mound when the Blue Jays wrapped up the World Series in Atlanta last year in Game 6. He fielded Otis Nixon's bunt and threw to first, and the celebration began across Canada. Alomar throws him out, and the Phillies leave the bases loaded in the 8th. We go to the bottom of the 8th. 6-3 Philadelphia. This is booming at one of the souvenir stands here at Sky Dome. The fan might want to hustle back to his or her seat because, as you pointed out during the break between innings, this is still very much a ball game, 6-3 as we go to the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, I think the Phillies had a chance to blow them out in the top of the 8th inning. They failed to do that when Duncan struck out. John Kruk grounded to second. And with the Wild thing down and still in the bullpen, a lot could happen in these last 2 innings.
Meat of the order coming up for Toronto. Paul Molitor leads off against Roger Mason, who's pitched an inning and a third of perfect relief. Molitor, Carter, and Olerud due up. Mason's first pitch of the 8th. Strike 1. Molitor walked in the first, singled and scored on the Carter home run in the 4th, and bounced to second in the 5th. Well hit, fair ball down the left field line. And Paul Molitor has a leadoff double.
Second hit of the ball game for Molitor. He is so quick inside. He has very little trigger to his swing. A very quiet bat. But as Gene Tennis, the hitting instructor, says, his hips explode into the ball. Gene also saying he'd be surprised at how big the upper body is on Paul Molitor.
He's at second with nobody out for Joe Carter. 6-3 Philadelphia in the 8th. John Olerud is on deck. Ball one just outside. Mason had a bit of a long look in at Paul Runge, and Dalton held the ball for a second. It was a close pitch. 1 for 3 is Carter with the 2-run homer to left in the 4th inning off the starter Mulholland. Ball too high. And it might be approaching Wild Thing time for Philadelphia. Mitch Williams is warming up. Appear to be taking all the way. It's 2-1. Tim, this will likely be a recurring theme throughout this series because a weakness of each of these two teams is that middle relief. With the way these two teams can hit, it's quite possible that the teams will feast on the other's middle relief pitching if the starters are knocked out early.
Mike Timlin had that left thumb taped between innings. Fortunately, it's not his pitching hand.
The 2-2 pitch, strike 3. Mason put the pitch exactly where he wanted to for the first out of the inning.
Joe Carter thought it was outside, and it appeared to be outside. Sometimes you complain about a pitch, however, and you get the next one. Cito Gaston complaining before the game that there are a lot of catchers now that sit outside. They center the mitt on the body, and if the pitcher will hit the mitt, regardless of whether it's a strike or not, they get the pitch, and that appeared to be what happened then to Carter.
Mitch Williams on after this. Williams on to make his first appearance in the World Series. He was so much a part of the drama of the National League Championship Series. Appeared in 4 games and wound up with 2 wins and 2 saves. He's on to protect a 6-3 lead, and Jim Fregosi is looking to him to get 5 outs.
Williams has pitched more than 1 inning only 4 times this year. That's out of 65 appearances. And he's entered a game with men on base in only 7 games. For obvious reasons, his wildness.
John Olerud 0 for 3 tonight. Hasn't had it out of the infield. 9 run in the on-deck circle. 6-3 Philadelphia in the 8th. And Williams' first pitch of all.
Matter of fact, if Mitch Williams was royalty, that's how he would be described. His wildness.
Jim Fregosi during the NLCS received 1,000 packets of Alka-Seltzer and a case of Maalox from fans who were watching Mitch Williams. They let Molitor go to third without paying any attention to him. A lot more chances now for the Blue Jays to get him in.
That's right. If it were the 9th inning, it wouldn't matter that much. But since it's the 8th, if they tack on 1 more, it makes it easier in the 9th.
Popped up. It will be close. And it's into the front row behind the Blue Jay dugout there, and Dalton went down a step into the Toronto dugout.
Looked like Darnell Coles was there to hold Dalton along with Cito Gaston and Gene Tennis.
Two and two on Olerud. He fouled one out of play. Roger Mason pitched an inning and 2/3. He allowed only one hit. That was the double by Molitor leading off this inning. Mason struck out 2 without issuing a walk. Terry Mulholland is the pitcher of record. Olerud at the plate. Roberto Alomar is on deck. In the air and right. Molitor is tagging. Eisenreich the catch. And it's 6-4. So taking the base pays off for Molitor as he's in on the sacrifice fly by John Olerud.
Jim Fregosi will certainly keep that in mind if a runner gets on in the 9th inning. But Williams, and it wasn't Mitch's fault as much as it was the middle infielders, both Kevin Stocker, Mariano Duncan, paying no attention to Molitor, and he took advantage of it, stealing third uncontested.
That run is charged to Roger Mason, so that's the first time he has been scored on in 9 career postseason appearances. 2 outs and the base is now empty. They did credit Molitor with a stolen base at third, even though the defense was indifferent toward his advancement.
I think instead of indifferent, they were just careless. Williams, Stocker, and Duncan.
Alomar 1 for 3. He singled and scored on the Fernandez double in the 6th. Dalton and Williams wanted to know where that one missed. 3-0 on Alomar.
Well, when you have a reputation like Mitch Williams does, you're not going to get the close pitches. You're a Dave Stewart who can hit the corner. You'll get those pitches, but not Mitch.
Strike. 3-1. It's been said that Mitch Williams pitches as if his hair were on fire. Mitch has said that himself. That's right down the middle, 3-2.
Mitch's case, it would be a big fire.
It would be an inferno. Now the payoff pitch, way outside. That'll bring the tying run to the plate. And Tony Fernandez will hit next. First, he'll have a visit from third base coach Nick Leyva, the former Philadelphia Philly manager.
I wonder if Leyva is telling Fernandez to give Alomar a chance to steal the base, maybe take a pitch or two. I doubt it because of Mitch Williams' move. I think Mitch Williams has a better move to first base than Terry Mulholland. Reason is he picks his right leg up. He rarely will step off and throw over there. He'll do it occasionally. We'll see if Alomar is thinking about running here.
6-4 Philadelphia in the bottom of the 8th. Alomar at first with 2 outs. First pitch to Fernandez, a ball inside. Tony's 2 for 3 tonight. He singled in the 4th and he doubled to drive in Alomar in the 6th. Roberto Alomar told us a couple of days ago that he has different keys to judging a pitcher's move. It depends on the pitcher. Sometimes it might be the hand, sometimes it's the leg, sometimes it might be the shoulder. The leg, as you noted, wouldn't give him much of a clue as he looks at Mitch Williams.
Actually, there were 9 stolen bases, and Mitch Williams picked off no one this year.
One and one on Fernandez. Hollins is guarding the line at third with Tony up there.
Last time Mitch Williams pitched in Canada was on the 19th of September against Montreal. He lost that ball game and was booed soundly when he got back to Philadelphia. As a matter of fact, they played at Veterans Stadium the next night, and he wore Larry Anderson's shirt out to the bullpen that night. He thought he'd trick the people. Well, he didn't. They knew him.
They knew Larry couldn't grow that much hair that fast. Alomar's running, and Fernandez punched it foul to the right. Six runs, 11 hits for Philadelphia. 4 runs and 8 hits for Toronto. Neither team has made an error. Jim Fregosi says Mitch Williams doesn't have ulcers, but he is a carrier. Very short lead and no movement by Alomar. And again, the foul ball off the bat of Fernandez.
Fregosi saying Mitch doesn't give ulcers. Or doesn't have them, he gives them.
Better lead this time, and he's running again. And no throw. So that's the second uncontested stolen base in the inning.
And evidently Alomar sees something in the move. It's probably the right leg going behind the left leg. Once that happens, a pitcher is committed to go home.
And now Williams steps off, and Alomar is out trying to steal third.
And that's a terrible play right there. Terrible.
And it's the first time ever that Alomar has been caught stealing in postseason play. 6-4 as we go to the ninth.
Mitch Williams changed his name from Wild Thing to Smart Thing. Under no circumstances can Roberto Alomar make this play. With 2 out, making the 3rd out at third base, being 2 runs down, and he is just not the player that you would expect to make a play like that. That was a terrible play on the part of Alomar.
Mike Timlin's first pitch of the ninth, the strike to Dave Hollins. Hollins, that is a foul ball, just foul past first.
You might be thinking at home, well, why not? Molitor went to third, but there was 1 out when Molitor went to third, and he showed how valuable that was when he scored on a sacrifice fly. But with 2 outs, you're 2 runs down, and for the most part, you're as well off at second as you would be at third, and that's why you can't make that play under any circumstances.
0-2 on Hollins, who has 2 hits and a walk tonight. He's driven in a run and scored 1. And he strikes out, couldn't catch up with the fastball from Timlin.
So Mitch Williams allows Alomar to steal second, but not third. It's almost like he had a 6th sense that Alomar was thinking about third, and he wheeled and then threw to Hollins for the out.
And that ends the longest consecutive stolen base streak in postseason history. Alomar had swiped 16 without being caught in postseason play before that one. Darren Daulton fouled the first one away. He's 0 for 4. He's the only Philadelphia starter who has not reached base tonight.
It was almost as though when Roberto Alomar slid into third, he knew he was out, and he cuts his eyes to Mitch Williams or up at Hollins, and then right to Nick Leyva, the third base coach. But you could almost see him. He was like a kid with his hand in the cookie jar. You just do not see Roberto Alomar make that kind of mistake.
The 2-2. Chopped slowly down to first. Olerud to Timlin, safe. And Darren Daulton has a base hit.
We have talked about Dalton's speed in this series. It's deceptive. Before his knee problems, he's had operations 6 times on his left knee. He could really run, but as you see, he clearly beats Timlin to the bag. Timlin slowed up for the ball, and that slowing up allowed Daulton to beat him by a shoelace.
Good call by Mark Johnson of the American League, the first base umpire. And Jim Eisenreich looked at ball 1. Eisenreich owns the biggest hit in the ball game, the 3-run homer that put the finishing touches on the 5-run Philadelphia third. Phillies have only scored once since then. That was in the 7th on the leadoff home run by Dykstra. Down to third, scooped up nicely by Sprague. Alomar turns it. Pretty double play, 5-4-3, and it ends the inning. We go to the bottom of the 9th. Fernandez, Sprague, and Borders due up at 6-4 Philadelphia.
Daulton barrels in to Roberto Alomar, and just like Edwin Moses, Alomar clears that hurdle.
So the Phillies lead is still 2. That was 6'2", 201 pounds. And Darren Daulton, about as solid a package as you'll ever see in a baseball uniform, bearing down on Alomar. Tonight's coverage of the 1993 World Series is produced by Bob Dekas and directed by Bob Fishman. The associate director is Steve Shear. The coordinating producer of Baseball 93 is Eric Mann. Baseball 93 produced by George Veras. The senior producer of CBS Sports is Ed Gorin, and the executive, no N in that word last time we checked, in charge of production is Rick Gentile. Jim Fregosi has Kim Batiste in the game at third as a defensive replacement for Dave Hollins. Bill Conlon, longtime sports columnist for the Philadelphia Daily News, had a great term to describe Kim Batiste. He called him the Mitch Williams of extra men. Seems to be plenty of action when he's involved in the postseason.
Kim says, I sit down until 10. Of course, it's until 12 tonight, 12
Yes.
Eastern time, 10 Rocky Mountain time.
Yes. This game is approached and reached now the 3.5-hour mark. Last night was 3:27. Mitch Williams pitching with a 2-run lead in the bottom of the 9th. Tony Fernandez leads off, bottom third of the order. Fernandez, Sprague, and Borders due up. It's Fernandez who is at the plate with a chance to tie the game with a home run for Cito Gaston last inning. But Alomar was thrown out trying to steal third. Grabbed at his knee, but the pitch didn't hit him. 2-0.
Came awfully close to hitting Fernandez, but he backs away in time.
Ball 3. And ball 4 high. Williams walks the leadoff man on 4 pitches. He has faced 3 hitters in this outing and has walked 2 of them. And that brings the tying run to the plate for Toronto. And it brings the pitching coach Johnny Padres to the mound. The Blue Jays have come back to win 3 postseason games. that they trailed in after 8 innings. And when you consider that the Yankees and Dodgers have played many more, several times more, postseason games for the Blue Jays and have only one more such comeback. That's a lot of ninth-inning magic over a short period of time for Toronto.
Ed Sprague, a first ball fastball hitter, and some of the Phillies don't want to watch.
5 straight outside the strike zone. And we've seen this shot before, Curt Schilling.
That was when he was pitching.
Tying run at the plate, 6-4 Philadelphia in the bottom of the 9th. And finally a strike over the inside slice. Sprague's over 3 tonight. Larry Anderson is warming up in the Phillies bullpen. The 1-1 to Sprague, ball 2. Most of the pitches here in the 9th haven't been close. Fernandez being held on by Kruk. Most of the fans on their feet at Skydome. The 2-1 inside. And Williams is in danger of walking Sprague and putting the tying run on base and bringing the winning run to the plate. The 3-1 pitch. Strike at the knees.
Outfielders reminded to throw the ball to second base and cut down on the double. Forget about Fernandez at first because you have a 2-run lead, not a 1-run lead.
And as such, the outfielders are playing very deep. The payoff pitch down to third. Batiste to second for 1. Back to first, not in time. And Kim Batiste came very close to another postseason error. That was a low throw, and Duncan did a great job to catch it and get the out. He nearly turned it into 2.
The first 2 ground balls he received, he bobbled. Or at least the first one he threw away, the second one he bobbled, and this one he throws away low. But Duncan comes up with a remarkable play in the dirt, on the bag, and throws to first from one knee. Watch the play Duncan makes. From one knee, tries to complete the double play.
Alfredo Griffin has come on as a pinch runner for Ed Sprague. Tying run still at the plate. 1 out of the 9th. Pat Borders looked at a strike. Borders single to right in the 3rd. Batiste guarding the line. The outfield still deep. 6-4 Philadelphia in the 9th. A ball outside. Jim Fregosi has said several times, late inning defense is the most thankless job in baseball. You're expected to make all the plays, and if you don't, you're a goat. Tim Batiste has said over and over again, I want them to keep hitting the ball to me. A double play ball. Duncan turns it. And the World Series is even at 1 win apiece. Mitch Williams picks up the save with the usual flair for the dramatic in the 9th. 2 hits and a walk, 2 runs scored, an RBI tonight for Lenny Dykstra. Now for Tim McCarver, Pat O'Brien, and Jim Gray, Sean McDonough saying so long from Skydome. The final score, Philadelphia 6 and Toronto 4. You have been watching CBS Sports coverage of the 1993 World Series. Good night from Toronto.